We use solar chargers. We used to use chargers that you hooked up to a car battery, and that was it was exhausting for me to haul the car batteries everywhere and always try to keep them charged. The solar chargers do not shock as strong as the chargers that go on the car battery, but the convenience outweighs that. So usually before setting up a grazing exposure, ideally we'd get all of our solar chargers. We have about 6 to 8 of them for grazing different little grazing pins. Set them out in the sun, let them get a really good charge, and set up our electric fence. Trestin spent a lot of time at Strike Farms last week mowing all the forage down to put the fence in. That's probably the biggest thing, is having a clear area to set it down so it's not grounding out on everything you're trying to graze. And I know that's what the fence manufacturer recommends too. Just go through and mow a strip right where the fence is going to go so it doesn't ground out on everything. This been, if we were going to leave sheep in here, we'd probably put a T-post at every corner and tie the fence off to it, obviously not touching. That's one of the biggest things, is just making sure it's not grounding out on anything, even another fence. These solar chargers will charge, if you have a 50-foot fence, this is probably 80, 50, or maybe 75. This will charge pretty hot. If you try to do a really long stretch, you're going to need multiple chargers. And make sure the fences are not all connected to each other. Just leave, every section as its own charger. What am I missing, Trestin?
Yeah, they're great fences. They're the more time you take to organize them and keep them from getting tangled, the more time you're actually saving in the end. There's actually a certain recommended way to bundle them up and set them out every time you use them, just because the posts get stuck in the holes and things like that. This year we only had one escape at a Strike Farm, but for the most part the sheep stay in. We think that maybe there's a predator or something this year out at Strike, and it's just pushing the sheep into the fence, and they all just win it once over it. Didn't go far, but it's really easy to use and portable. I like them quite a bit.
So that's your ideal height?
Yeah, they're all just about this height. Yeah. And other than the one sheep Devon talked about jumping over the electric fence, they don't seem to want to jump over it. There's a lot of forage in their fence area anyways. There's not really any reason they want to leave unless there's something in there chasing them, this year.
That is something you have to be careful with, especially with our cover crop termination. If we're trying to graze something down to the ground and there's forage on the other side of the fence, you're going to have to start watching that fence pretty careful and remove them at the right time. If you leave them in there long enough without feed, they will push it over. Usually with our fence tester, so if we were going to set up at a producer's place or graze a certain field, we first go in and look at where we wanted to put the fence, mow exactly where the fence is going to go, put up our T-posts to hold the corners, so if it gets really windy one night, we don't really have to show up the next morning and find all of our sheep. The fence is still standing. And then we bring our solar chargers. Red goes to the fence, green goes to ground. The longer the ground rod you have, the better the better charge you're going to get. So this is pretty short. And if you can get it a couple feet into the ground, that's ideal. So we'll bring a ground rod and hammer, attach everything, fill water, and then put the sheep in there. The less you can mess with all the fence and the stuff while the sheep are in there, the better. Obviously, they're flight animals. If they get scared, they're just going to go right over the fence. And usually they're not jumping. They just ball up into a big group, and enough sheep kind of push against each other that they push the fence down, and then they just all run over the top. And so we don't have a lot of problems with sheep escaping. We make sure and bring a fence tester with us, and if there's forage touching the fence, we'll either walk around the entire perimeter and pull out whatever is in the way, or stomp it down with our feet and just make sure it's not grounding out. A lot of times if you're walking around and it's quiet, you can just hear the ticking too. You'll hear if there's a piece of grass or a plant laying on the fence, you'll hear it tick with every surge going through the fence. You'll hear a little tick, so you can know probably need to pull that out of there. So far, these have worked really well, and there is definitely a certain way to roll them up so they don't get tangled.
Can I say one thing, Devon? On those charges on this ground here, this ground here is really nice ground and it's wet and it's soft. But if you're on rocky ground, you've got to have enough ground. So you might have to put 2 or 3 ground rods in that are 2 or 3 feet deep. And the way you tell whether you need another ground rod is take your fence tester. Say this is our ground here. You put your fence tester right here, and then you stick the other end in the ground. And if there's more than 0.3 kilovolts or 3,000 volts measured there, you need another ground rod. So it's typically, like in our ground, if it's rocky and it's not irrigated, we'll get a reading of like 1.0, 1.5. So then we just put another ground rod 10 feet away and run a high tensile wire between the two. And we just keep putting more ground rods in until we get below 3,000 volts. It's really important. Years ago, I kept telling our fencing dealer, this charger is not working, because we only had like 3,000 volts in the fence, and you need 5 to keep sheep in, 5,000 volts in this fence. And so he says, well, just put more ground rods in. And I said, oh, that's not the reason. This charger just isn't big enough. Well, I finally took his advice and he was right. You got to have less than 3,000 volts or 300 volts, 0.3 kilovolts between your ground and the ground rod and ground itself. So it really makes a big difference. And if you're in rocky ground, I've had as many as 5 3-foot ground rods all hooked together just to get below that.
Okay. It seems they work pretty well. This is actually one of our older ones. All of our new ones are the Patriot brand that are they're still black. They're just a little slimmer. They almost look like a flat screen solar charger compared to this, and they work pretty well. We always do just set them on the ground, and as long as there's not a lot of forage and they still have direct sunlight, they seem to work fine. We might be a little bit lazier about the charge. If it's reading above 4, we'll just call it good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially out when we're in these crops fields that are there's forage everywhere. The fence is going to be touching vegetation at some point, so
Yeah, it's hard. You can't really cut down the neighboring crop to put up the fence, but
And
it's
if you're
worked
on
pretty well.
a field where you're grazing, this high grass and you're grazing with nets, it's a big field. It takes too long to mow. Then you can either go through with a 4-wheeler to trample that down, or you can just walk backwards through these close together steps. And especially if the grass is mature enough, it'll bend down and not come back up. And then you can just put your net right along where you walk. And the solution to grounding out fences in a farm situation is just a bigger charger.
Yeah.
That's all you can do sometimes. We may do with a 12 joule charger. This is probably half joule.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's not very big.
Yeah, the solar ones are not.
Yeah. But we may do with a 12 joule charger for a long time, and every year we lost a couple lambs in the fence because they got tangled.
Ooh.
Finally, we just said enough of that. We got a 36 joule charger and end the problem. They're scared of that fence now, whereas before they were just, it might be on it, maybe up me, but may not. Let's try it, sort of thing.
Yeah, Dave probably is more. We do such short-term grazing that we can usually make it work for a week or two, but with your long-term, you got to kind of make sure it's going to work and you're not going to lose sheep.
Yeah. It's terrible to lose sheep.